then you have a net profit of 0, right? Here you have a higher contribution, that is why you have a net profit. So I can say the point at which total contribution equals to the total fixed cost, right? The point at which total contribution equals to the total fixed cost. Understood? And when I say it's zero profit, actually there is no loss also. This is a point at which, this is a point in the sense I am meaning the level of output, level of output at which neither profit, no profit, no loss. You have neither profit or no loss. Loss is also not there, because profit is zero mean no loss. Loss is also not there, right? And it's actually your total income is equaling to what? Your total cost, right? And it's actually your total contribution is equaling to total fixed cost. Then only you can get a net profit of 0, right? So why we want to calculate the break even point? Why we have to see at which point our total income is equaling to our total cost, or at which point we have we have our profit become 0. Why we want to calculate this? Because guys, we have to check at what point I don't have any profit or loss, right? Why I want to calculate that? I want to actually go beyond that point to earn a profit, right? If I find out at what point I don't have any profit or loss, at what point my total income and cost are equaling, I have to earn more income than that point to arrive at a profit. And I don't want to go beyond that, right? If my output is beyond that level, right, beyond means it's lesser than that, I would end up in a loss. So I should calculate this point. It's very, very important. Okay, understood?
Yes,
Guys,
sir.
did you understand this break even point concept? Understood,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes,
So
sir.
they will ask to calculate what is the break even BEP. They say break even point output. How much, at what level, at what quantity, output or quantity is your break even point. You understand? At what, how, if at what level your what, what quantity your total income is equaling to your total cost, or at what quantity your net profit is 0, or at what quantity your net profit equals to total fixed cost is equal to total contribution, then only we have a net profit of 0. Same thing, finally the net profit should be 0, right? Now we want to tell them a formula for break even point. At what quantity it's break even, it's becoming break even, we have to find a formula, right? We know some characteristics of break even point. I'll copy this same thing. We know some characteristics. What is a characteristic? Now we want a profit of 0 now, guys. We want a profit of what? 0. So in order to get a profit of 0, your fixed cost doesn't change with the level of output. Even when you produce 0 units or 5,000 or 500, 1,000, it's the same, no? So your contribution also should be what? Is the fixed cost. I said it's a characteristic of the break even point, the point at which total contribution equals to the total fixed cost, no? So at the break even point, remember your total contribution is equal to what? Total fixed cost. Then only you can get a net profit of 0. So I know if I want to get a contribution of 50,000, here also it should be then 50,000. Then only my contribution minus fixed cost will be, net profit will be 0, right? So I know that my selling price is, now if I sell 1000 unit, guys, see how much, what will be my contribution, actual contribution. If I sell actually 1000 unit as I did, as I do, then my contribution will be how much? Total contribution will be 80,000, no? And I will end up in a profit of 30,000. But I want to see at what output my contribution becomes, total contribution become 50,000. That is what I'm trying to find out. Okay, so I know at at break even point, uh, my contribution is equaling to 50, right? And I know one thing, my selling price and variable cost per unit do not change, it's the same. So contribution per unit also what is the same. Contribution from one unit is the same, guys. It doesn't change with the level of output. Even when you produce 500 units, sell 500 or 1000, the contribution from one unit is the same, because selling price per unit is same, we assume. Variable cost for one unit is same, so contribution for one unit is also same. But the quantity will change, so that your total contribution will change, right? So in a break even point, to arrive at a net profit of 0, or loss also 0, net profit slash loss could also come. I should earn a total contribution of how much? 50,000, which is equaling to the fixed cost, right? And I know my contribution from one unit, it's the same as it's same as 80. So can you calculate how many units I should sell to break even? How can you find out the quantity that I should sell to break even, which is they're asking to this actually. They're asking for this quantity. How much units that I should sell uh, to earn a net profit of 0, or where my profit or loss is 0. How can you find out, guys? Can you tell me a formula? If you see this, can you identify a formula? I want to find out this value, total number of units, right? And I
Total
have this,
contribution.
yes, total contribution.
Total contribution divided by contribution per unit.
Yes, exactly. Earlier, I get total contribution by multiplying the output by the contribution per unit, right? If I have 1000 units, how do I get the total contribution? 80 per unit into number of units. So this is how I get the total contribution. Now in this case, I have the total contribution and I have per unit contribution. So if you want the number of units, you have to divide the total contribution. Total contribution is actually equaling to what? In this case, it's the total contribution is same as what? The fixed cost, guys. That's a special characteristic, okay? That you divide by what? That you divide by uh, what? Contribution per unit. Contribution per unit. Then you can get the break even point quantity. So how much of units I should sell to break even? So if I show you, my total contribution is the same as fixed cost, so I can take 50,000, and 50,000 I divide by contribution per unit, which is 80. So 50,000 divided by 80 is 625 units. 625 units. So if I show you, if I put 625 here as the output, 80 per unit contribution into number of output is 625, I exactly get how much? 50,000. And my fixed cost doesn't change even when it is 1000 or 625, it's the same. So I will have a profit of how much? My total contribution is this, my fixed cost is this, it's zero. So I should understand, or I should see at what quantity my I am break even, right? Or my income and expenses are same, or my uh, total contribution exactly equals to the fixed cost, right? That is the level of output where I can ignore any losses. Okay, so you have to learn this formula: total contribution, or which is the same as fixed cost in this case, you divide by the contribution per unit. Understood, guys? Understood,
Yes, sir.
right? It's a very simple formula actually, right? Then you learn something called what? So first we learn the contribution. No, we learn the contribution. Contribution we can take it by two ways, right? Contribution, total contribution divided by total sales income, or contribution from one unit divided by the selling price per unit. Now we learn the break even point. Break even point is the point at which my profit or loss is zero, right? I don't have profit or loss, right? So I can find that unit at what quantity I am at break even by getting the total fixed cost, by deducting the total fixed cost, which is equaling to total contribution by one unit contribution, dividing by one unit contribution. Okay, now same thing they can ask break even point uh, at value, or rupees value. What they are asking is break even point value or rupees. What they are asking is how much is the sales income at the break even point. How much is the sales income at break even point? So how can you get the sales income at break even point? At break even point you need to sell how many units? 625 units, guys, right? And we know for one unit how much is our selling price. So if you want to find out what is the total income, sales income at the break even point, how can you find out? You simply have to say break even point quantity, no, output or quantity, that the amount, the units, number of unit that we have to sell to break even, BEP quantity into selling price per unit, selling price per unit. So if break even point, I would say how much is the break even point quantity, which is 625 units. Now if I sell 625, I will end up in break even. And how much is my selling price per unit? 100, right? So 625 into 100 means I will do how much of sales? 62,500, guys. 62,500 will be my total sales at break even, not 100,000, right? If I show you, let's say 625 units, no, 625 unit, and per unit selling price is 100, so I will have 62,500 of sales income. And my variable cost also changes, right? 625 now, and how many units? 625 units, sorry, what is the selling price per unit is 20. So if I see 62,500 minus 12,500, you have a total contribution of 50, and your fixed cost is also same, so that you will end up in a same, I mean end up in zero profit or loss. Understood, guys? Break even point at the value figure means all the value figures they are asking the income. We learn some more items, right? So all the value figures, actually the sales income, sales income, total sales income I can at break